Great. Good afternoon, folks. Hi. Thank you so much for making the time to join Lucy Brazier OBE and I as we think this afternoon about how we best live the role of a forward-thinking assistant. My name's John Bennett. I work with iBabs. iBabs helps over 3,000 organisations and assistants to save time and solve the headache of organising and running secure, effective board meetings. I'm hugely honoured this afternoon to be joined by one of the foremost thinkers in the space around executive assistants, author, advocate, founder and CEO of Executive Support Media, the very wonderful and quite brilliant Lucy Brazier OBE. Lucy, it's a great pleasure to have you here today with us. Thank you so much for making time.
Oh, it's always wonderful to join you, Jonathan. You know, iBabs works very closely with us and we love doing that. But, you know, it's always great fun to have this tennis match between you and I where you come up with these almost impossible questions. But I'm looking forward to seeing whether I can answer them this afternoon. And welcome to everyone who's joining us. I think it's one of the biggest audiences iBabs has ever had. So I'm very excited about that.
Brilliant. Well, it's obviously you're the drawer, Lucy. So thank you so much for making the time. Today really dropped out of a conversation you and I were having at the IMA event in Rotterdam. I guess we both kind of felt like now is the right time with so much happening in the world around AI, digital transformation across organisations, remote hybrid working, and more being asked of pretty much everyone every day. Yeah, that we take the chance to sort of take stock and look at some of the trends that are happening with the role of executive assistant and maybe how we can shape that going forward, really. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add up front before we...
You know, I think AI tools are clearly going to be taking a lot of the reactive task-based stuff. But I have a lot to share about AI today, and it certainly isn't going to be taking over your role. Your value isn't disappearing, it's just shifting. And the assistants who thrive in this next era are going to be those who are operating strategically and visibly and proactively. So it's just being aware, I think, more than anything else, and understanding what you need to do in order to shift with it. And to me, whenever we have had a shift in this profession because of technology, and this isn't all just about technology, by the way, today, we are going to be talking about how you are partnering better and how you really think more forwardly with your role. But if you think about it, you know, the way that technology has evolved, we started with the typewriter, then we went to the electric typewriter, then we moved from there into computers and then into the internet and then into cloud computing. And now here we are with AI. And at every stage of the technology developing, the assistant role has developed with it. And it hasn't meant more work, it's just meant deeper work and more valuable work. And I really believe that AI is going to smash through that glass ceiling once and for all for assistants and put you into a position whereby your organisations understand what the value is. But we'll come on to talk more about that in a little bit. I'm excited to talk to everybody this afternoon.
Brilliant. So just a couple of bits of housekeeping around the session today. First thing is the chat is open, and as we go, do feel free to drop your questions in the chat for Lucy and I. There will be a Q&A at the end, and yeah, so feel free to drop your questions or any thoughts on the session today in the chat. And just so as well, there will also be a replay sent out as part of the follow-up today. So if you get pulled into something else or you can't, for whatever reason, sit through the whole thing, then don't worry, you can catch up on replays, the part that you've missed. And lastly, just to help keep things fun and interactive, but also to help us to tailor the session to and this type of session to what you want to hear going forward, please do take part in the polls today, which will be popping up on screen as we go. your session will really make your feedback will really make the session what it's all about today. So and then the other thing to mention is obviously at this point I'll hand over to Lucy, but we've got an exciting opportunity to win some tickets to a forthcoming event, I think, Lucy. So maybe if you just give us a bit more background on yourself for the benefit of those who've not attended one of these events before, and maybe you could explain a bit more about the opportunity to win some tickets.
Absolutely. So let's do this very quickly because I want to get into the meat of the conversation. If you don't know who I am, I'm the CEO of Executive Support Media, and we produce Executive Support magazine, but we also run events all over the world. That is the business side of what we do, but I also spend most of my life on an aeroplane talking to you and talking to your executives and talking to your HR departments about how best to use their assistants, their administrative functions. We're driving the change from the profession within your businesses. I wrote a book in 2023, which thankfully won the International Book Award for the Career Book of the Year, which was very exciting to me, of course, because we won the award, but also because it was up against all sorts of other careers. And it means that we are now being recognized as a career, not just a job. And finally, I should probably say that I got my OBE, which for those of you that are not in the UK, is an Officer of the British Empire Award, which was awarded by the Queen in 2021, but I received from King Charles in 2023 for services to office professionals. So hopefully I know what I'm talking about. And then if we move on a slide, I can talk to you about the offer that we have got for you all today, which is that we are, can we move? There we go. We have got on Thursday and Friday this week, the most phenomenal event taking place online. It's 24-hour online conference and some of the really top trainers for administrative professionals in the world taking part, and we want to give away a ticket or maybe even a couple of tickets dependent on how good you are to people who learn things over the next hour and post them on social media. We're going to need you to tag iBabs and you're going to need to tag us, but if you have learnings from this, put them up online and we will choose one or two of those and give you tickets to attend the conference later in the week, and you get 30 days of replay on that as well. So if you can't attend actually on the day, you're still going to get a whole heap of learning. So go take a look. Let's begin, shall we?
Yeah, so I guess to open up the conversation, it's really maybe a case of if you could outline what you think would characterize a forward-thinking assistant in 2025, Lucy.
Yes, very definitely. I think I should start probably by saying that LinkedIn's latest survey into work trends says that administrative professionals are doing 30% more strategic work than they were doing a year ago. I think that is a huge thing. And for the very first time, you are really looking at strategic partnership as being something that your organizations are experiencing from a majority of you, really. And that means leading initiatives and managing stakeholder relationships and doing project management and interpreting data and all sorts of things that assistants really weren't doing before. And of course, we've then got the AI layer in that as well, which means that assistants are getting rid of the task-based stuff they're doing, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But within the role itself, to me, being a forward-thinking assistant is around really anticipating executives' needs. It's about seeing round corners. It's not just about being told what to do and doing it. It's about looking at what's coming up ahead. It's anticipating bottlenecks. It's looking at what your executive has agreed to do. It's understanding what the priorities are so that you are being proactive, you're not being reactive. And I'm forever saying that an assistant's role is to be a gatekeeper of time, not a gatekeeper of people. So your role is to make sure that every hour of their time is best spent. In fact, every minute of their time is best spent. And therefore, every dollar, every pound, every euro of their very expensive salaries are best spent. And that means really understanding the organization so that when you're making decisions on these things, it aligns with the business strategy, not just on daily tasks. We want to be leading the change before it's mandated, especially when it comes to AI. We want to be looking at the way the profession is changing, and we want to be stepping into that. And obviously, you've all got these generic job descriptions, which are very old-fashioned. The majority of assistants have still got job descriptions that are based in about 1995. But they've got that line on the bottom that says, and anything else we might fling at you. And that tends to encompass a whole heap of stuff that you never get recognition for because everybody says, oh, well, it falls into that line. But we really need to future-proof this role by looking at the automation, by looking at AI and looking at the value it's going to be adding, as opposed to seeing it as a threat. Now, to me, as I said earlier, it just means that you're going to be able to operate at a far more deep and fast and informed level. So if you can do something twice in the same way, it can be automated. That's the first thing I need to say to you. So all that stuff that you previously used to do, like email and calendar and booking travel and expenses and minutes, all that stuff that should never have defined you, because I know that for most of you, you're doing a lot more than that. That stuff is going to go to AI. So where does that leave you? Well, what it leaves you with is stuff that is far more strategic and of far more value to your organization. Now, what's exciting is that LinkedIn and Microsoft's latest Work Trends report is saying that the administrative professionals are the fastest adopters of AI. As a job family, you're adopting it faster than anybody else, and that's because clearly you want to be one step ahead. So I would be focusing on how it's going to augment your career as opposed to how it is going to replace you. 77% of your businesses are already using or exploring AI tools, and assistants in the last year have found that their AI adoption has more than doubled. So according to the Future of Jobs report, no, it's not the Future of Jobs reporting, I'm talking nonsense. The State of the Profession report, which is from ASAP, 53% of administrative professionals are using AI daily now, and that's up from 26% in 2024. Copilot's gone from 13% to 43%. However, what I should say to you is that if you're using it to do some gentle reorganizing of email or to correct things that you're writing or whatever, we're still on kind of dial-up stage with AI. We haven't yet got to a point where it's detonated, and that is going to happen by 2027. There's a report came out a couple of weeks ago, which is called AI 2027, which is talking about AI agents who are going to be doing all the stuff I just mentioned without you even telling it to. So really, we need to get with the program. We need to start thinking about how AI can be used for workflow optimization, how we can use it for research, how we can use it for project management and for strategic planning, and to be leaders in our own right. Because what we're being told is that this is what's dominating the skill development agenda for assistants in the next couple of years. So to me, I think being forward-thinking is thinking about how you can be forward-thinking in your role and the value you can add and how you can be proactive rather than reactive. I would be thinking about AI and how you're going to utilize that within your role. And the third thing that I would say really briefly, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot today, but you can go repost on LinkedIn if you're interested, is that the latest research says that the average assistant is 48 years old. So we clearly have a problem with attracting new, younger people into the profession. And I think part of that is because we don't have departments, we don't have networks, and they want to belong. So we need to start thinking as businesses and as assistants about how we tackle that one too. But I do think it's going to be a really exciting time for us as long as we harness it and we get with the program and we understand it's not about technology, it's about impact and what that impact's going to do for us.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It sounds like it's much more about less sort of being reactive than maybe coming forward with ideas around how you can enhance business processes across the organisation and really sort of build things that are more efficient, more secure, more user-friendly around the way things happen within the organization. AI can be a tool for that, but things like helping your the people you work with become more effective decision makers by making sure they're getting the information they need in a timely way, and that sort of thing can be very, very powerful, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're sort of pivoting from a place where you're reacting to the world to one that's kind of making suggestions around, well, I've seen this, this looks really interesting. Should we have a look at this for the organization? Around things like calendar management, information workflows within the business, and how meetings can be made more effective with like automated follow-up and that sort of stuff.
Yes, for sure. It just makes getting the information far quicker. And I would stop thinking about doing administration. I would start thinking about managing administration, because this is where this is heading. It's about thinking about, well, rather than doing the minutes of a meeting, it's how are we going to transcribe the minutes of a meeting and make sure it's in the format that everybody needs, and how is that going to be secure, and how do we make sure that everybody in the meeting is happy that those minutes are being taken? Do you see what I'm saying? It's far more how do I manage the process as opposed to how do I do it myself. And of course, when we get rid of all those tasks, it's going to free up your time to do all sorts of different work, which is not only more interesting but far more valuable. So it makes it far more easy for you to prove your value to your organisation.
It can be, though, I guess, quite daunting to. Oh, sorry, I've jumped ahead to one of the polls. So, how would you sort of suggest you can spot things that your exec might not be aware of, or coming up with ways of thinking around what they're doing and how you interact with them, especially when they're working remotely? That means you're always on the front foot with them, would you say, Lise?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, reading as much as you possibly can, and joining webinars, and, doing some training. There are some phenomenal trainers specifically for assistants that are out there that are really starting at the beginning and taking you step by step and explaining how it all works, and are then going to help to train you in more advanced stuff later on. But, I'm with Fiona Young, who I think is phenomenal, who says, just set yourself playtime every day. If you're old like me, you remember when the internet came in. And do you know when the internet came in and all the businesses went, oh, no. This is going to be a real problem for our security. We're going to be giving away information that we shouldn't be giving, and it's going to be a huge security risk. And so they all went away and they built intranets. This is sounding horribly familiar. And then what happened is they all went, oh, this is fundamentally going to change the way that we do business. Bill Gates is saying this is as important a development as mobile phones or the internet. And so we just need to get with the program, because at some point they're going to go, we do need to jump on board with this. And when they do, we're all going to need to know about it yesterday. And assistants are already leading the way. And they always think that you are the super users. So as soon as they do decide they want to use it, they're going to come to you and go, can you help us? Can you train us all on how to do it? Go do it now. We've got a certification that we run a couple of times a year, which is a 2-day, 3-hour thing where you can come and you can get a Microsoft certification badge in AI. That's really helpful. Jessica McBride is wonderful, as I said. Fiona Young is fantastic. Lisbeth Coloko-Green, all really, really specific to the administrative world. And I don't think that it matters who you watch particularly, as long as you are keeping yourself informed.
Cool. So at this point, Lucy, if it's okay, we'll jump into the first of our little polls that we've got as part of the session today. So the first poll that we're going to have, and to cast your vote, you can, I think, click on the little radar buttons on your screen, is what makes it hardest to be on the front foot in your role? So is it firstly the lack of visibility of what's coming down the line in terms of workload? Sort of the flip side to that is, are you getting things too last minute to be able to manage them? is there not enough trust or access with other people in the organisation, or the ability to sort of consult with people around what you're doing, or is it that you're just not sure where the focus is? So if you can cast your votes now, folks, we'll just leave this open for another sort of 20 seconds or so. Have you got any thoughts on this poll, Lucy, as we go?
I would say all of it.
Yes.
Sadly, I'm interested to see what our audience is saying.
Cool. So let's see if we've got any feedback on that. Looks like so. Wow. Okay. So the biggest number there, over 106 people on the call today, feeding back. There's too much stuff coming in at the last minute, Lucy. I guess that's something we all probably recognise, a bit of seagull management, so to speak. But the second thing is then kind of a corollary of that, which is the lack of visibility of what's coming down the line. So nearly 2/3 of people on the call are sort of feeding that back as the main issue. So really interesting. Any thoughts on that, Lucy?
Yes, very definitely. I think, most assistants live in firefighting and crisis management. Of course they do, because they're not seen as being strategic currently, and they're seen as doing stuff very quick and very fast, and it being that reactive task-based stuff. But where your career is built is in the planning, and it's in the developing processes and procedures and being seen to be strategic. So that last-minute work we need to organise. We need to work out how much of that we can automate in advance, how much of it we can see is coming down the track, because every month we seem to have that last minute piece that is there. And we need to think about what's driving our careers and what's going to make us seem like we are more strategic within our roles. I think it's so interesting, that lack of visibility of what's coming. That's partly because we're not included in so many things, and that's something I'm going to talk about in a moment. And the lack of trust or access, I wrote a post about that actually this week, which was saying, if you have an assistant and you're saying to them, you can't have access to my email because there's confidential stuff in there, or I can't have you in the leadership meeting because they talk about confidential things in there, or even worse, we can't let you set up an internal assistant network because it worries us when all the assistants get together. They wouldn't say it worries us when all the engineers get together. They wouldn't say to a new manager, you can't attend a meeting because we're talking about confidential stuff. It's kind of part of the whole role to be trusted, I think. And so I know it takes time to build that trust, but actually what they're saying is this is a role that is not to be trusted in the same way as a manager is trusted. So I think that's a perception thing. And unsure where to focus, 29, a few of you, that's, I would have thought, a management issue. They need to be helping you to understand where you need to focus. But I think it's a very interesting result indeed.
Certainly on our side, looking at that, obviously looking at tools that can help you to manage last minute work is obviously one of the things that can help there as well, I guess. Cool. Okay. Well, that's a super interesting bit of feedback. So thanks so much for everybody for your involvement in that. So I guess in terms of sort of following that on, the next section, we're going to start looking at how do we make that jump from being somebody who is reactive and responding to stuff that's sort of dropping in on us at last minute to maybe thinking a bit more strategically, thinking a bit more like our executives, recognizing stuff that might well regularly happen that we can better manage. And how we can build some systems for sort of accommodating that. So is there anything you'd sort of draw attention to there, Lucy, maybe?
I think the thing is, Jonathan, that for the longest time, assistants have kind of sat out of that whole piece that understands the business. They said, I don't need to do that because what I'm doing is supporting. And it's always been that the executive is given a goal and they go on this kind of intellectual and emotional journey and they hit the goal and then they're successful. And the assistant's running along behind that going, hello, is there any work for me? Can I help you? And sometimes the executive is going, yes, that would be really useful. But we're turning into a workplace that is based on collaboration. And what that means is that it isn't the executive sitting up here and the assistant sitting down here anymore, where the executive is throwing the assistant things to do. What we're talking about in a world of collaboration is the two of you bringing your skill sets to the table, understanding that goal as a partnership, understanding which work belongs to you in hitting that goal and which work belongs to them, and then making that intellectual and emotional journey together so that when the success comes, it's both of you doing that in partnership. So to me, you can't do that unless you understand what's driving the executive team right now. Do you understand the company's goals and their concerns and what the pressures are? How are you going to help to alleviate that? And specifically for your executive, do you understand what your executive's goals are? Do you understand what their key performance indicators, their KPIs? Do you understand their OKRs, their operational key results? Separately to that stuff, do you understand what success looks like for them this year? That could be something entirely different. Success for me this year means spending more than 16 weeks at home as opposed to being on the road, you know? It could be something really personal. And what are they trying to achieve? I think if you understand those things, then you are always going to be a hero because you're going to be not setting yourself the same goals and KPIs, but you're going to be sitting there thinking, okay, how can I feed into that? How can I make sure that they are achieving that? What are the bits and pieces that I can do in the background? So for example, supposing your executive has been asked to write a piece of strategy to achieve a goal. Are you able to go off and do research into that in order to find out the information that they need in order to go and write that strategy document? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm forever saying that if you have the work in front of you, it's like a metaphorical pile of papers. So you should be looking at the top one and going, well, I can do all of that, so I'm going to take it. And the next one I can do 2/3 of, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hand the rest back to them. And this one I have no clue about, but I'm going to give it to them and ask them a couple of questions so I can make sure that I know more about it for next time. Simple economics says if you're both capable of doing something, it should be you that's doing it so that their very expensive salary is being spent on the things that only they can do. That's why the organisation employs them. So take a look at patterns. What are the patterns in meetings and in communications and in team behaviour? What's slowing down decisions? Where does information get lost? And then go and remove the barriers. I know assistants who are C-suite. If you don't know what C-suite is, it's all those chief executive, chief operating officer, chief finance officer. It's all those C people, right? So I know assistants who get together with all the other C-suite assistants to say what's going on that I don't know that I need to know. I also have heard of assistants who go and talk to all the direct reports of their executive to say to them, where are their bottlenecks? Where are their problems with communication flow? How can I help you to solve those? So then you're able to use those insights to preemptively close those gaps, which means that all the time you are adding more value. And of course, AI feeds into that. It's reshaping the leadership decision making. It's meaning that you can help your executive to interpret data or huge documents or what the tech is doing. You know, maybe go and test the tech first, go and see what it can do. But I think all of that stuff is really helping you to step into being more strategic.
Yeah, so I guess really about understanding what your executive makes them tick, really, and how you can support them into sort of working around their actions that they've got and the decisions that they need to make each day, I guess.
Yes, definitely. But also, you know, I think that for a lot of assistants, they are still not, for example, sitting in leadership meetings. Now, if you're in leadership meetings, it's a wonderful source of information because you're not relying on them telling you all the time what's going on. You can sit and you can listen to what they've agreed to do, and then you can calendar it for them. You can look what everybody else is agreeing to do, and then you can chase them if what they are doing is going to affect what your manager is doing. You're able to see where things are coming down the track. You can anticipate bottlenecks, but you can also learn to speak the language of business, which gives you a lot more credibility and helps you to make a far more confident contribution to the organization, I think. So to me, I would be asking to attend those so that, apart from anything else, it gives you a whole new network of people if you're trying to problem solve. It's going to help you to anticipate far more, I think, if you're able to get in on what that information is. But if you can't do that, again, AI is a wonderful thing. Those terrible reports that you used to look at and think, I have no clue what this means at all, chuck it into AI. Of course, security-based AI, but say, please rewrite this for me so that I understand what it actually means so that I can help. Or chuck it into AI and say, give me some ideas as to where I can support at a higher level based on what the goals are here. There's so many places you can get this information.
That kind of feeds quite nicely into the next topic, which we had really, which is from that, how do you sort of amplify your impact in work and build that visibility of influence? You touched there on making sure you're sort of involved with the leadership teams. I really like that idea of building a sort of network of other assistants across the organisation so that you've got the sort of, I don't know, almost like back channel communications around stuff. So you know what's happening where, not even if you're not getting invited to the meeting, you're probably finding out about it through the sort of the jungle drum, so to speak. So it's a fantastic idea that I really like that. Is there anything else you'd point to around making sure you can bring that impact to the role and build your visibility of the role across the organisation as well?
I think assistants are extraordinary at process and procedure. When we test them on their core skill sets, the process and procedure piece usually comes out at a score of between 20 and 30, and a high score in that particular test is 12 to 15. So it shows how extraordinary they are at that stuff. So I would be playing to that, look at building systems and processes that are for repeatable tasks. So maybe look at building dashboards or reporting tools or feedback loops. Look at the processes. And I know that for most assistants, they look at processes often and go, surely to goodness, there's a better way of doing that. And then they think, I'm not going to raise my voice because I'm going to sound stupid because somebody has clearly thought that through. And here is the thing I need to tell you, nobody has thought it through. That's the secret. Not for a very, very long time. So why don't you suggest different ways in which you could maybe do things? And there's that, that old wives' story where there's the kid going to the mother, Mum, when we cook the fish, why do we cut the head and the tail off? And the mother says, I really have no clue. I'm going to go and talk to Granny. So she goes and talks to Granny and says, Mum, why when we cook the fish do we cut the head and the tail off? And Granny goes, I have no clue at all. I'm going to talk to my mum. They're a long-living family. So she goes to Great Granny and she says, why do we cut the head and the tail off the fish? And Great Granny says, because the pot was too small. So here we are. All these generations later, the process is the same. So maybe go look at some of those processes, and particularly around things that are going to really optimize time for you and for your executive, and that are going to create opportunities for the business. I can think of one right off the top of my head, which is to do calendar audit. If your executive is in and out of meetings all day long and back-to-back meetings, and my thoughts on that, that's for a whole other day. But maybe do a calendar audit to say, this is how you spent your time in the last quarter. Is this how you want to spend your time in the next quarter? Because I can help you with that. That's a really strategic way of grabbing hold of the situation and creating value instantly. you know, nobody should have access to the calendar other than you, by the way, because your job is to manage their time. But again, that's a whole other subject for another day. Let's move on to visibility and influence, shall we?
Yeah. I think we've sort of touched on that, haven't we? So the next thing on the list was the poll question, which is what can help us be influential in our role? Under this, we've got 4 different options. The first of which is how do we anticipate the needs of our executive? The second is by streamlining systems and processes. The third option is by offering solutions to some of the problems or difficulties within the organisation. And then the fourth one is connecting people and information. So if you're able to just click on the screen and with your choice of those, are there any there that instantly leap out at you, Lucy, or?
Oh my goodness. Again, it's all of them. I think, you know, they've all got a really big part to play. I will be interested in seeing what our audience thinks. It's all of them are core, I think.
Yeah, I think people and information for me is a absolutely key thing, but I would say that being in sales. As you say, it's hard to pick out a winner here. Let's have a look. So, wow, okay, so by far the highest thing that allows us to be influential according to our audience is the ability to anticipate the needs of our exec. That's nearly 40% of the audience, I think, along those lines. And then the next sort of 50% is between offering solutions and connecting people and information. Is there anything we can sort of draw from that, do you think, Lucy, in terms of making you influential?
You know, I think the anticipating needs part is huge. I think, of course, if you are going to be strategic, you need to be able to see what's coming down the track. But I also think, you know, that gaining visibility and credibility across departments and leadership circles is about sharing success stories in the language of outcomes. So talking about savings and efficiencies and growth, that kind of thing. And modeling what trusted strategic partnership looks like. So really making sure that you're aligned to those goals, making sure that you're reliable, that you are discreet, that you are exhibiting good judgment, and always having solution orientated communication. So rather than saying, I think we've got a problem, but I've been looking at it and I think this is how we could probably solve it. It's about working with your executive to make sure that they are the best they can possibly be and that they are operating at warp speed. But, you know, there's other things in there as well. I love the whole thing about connecting people and information. And really, it's so hard for assistants to do that. Assistants are siloed in organisations often. They work right the way across departments and they very rarely meet each other. It's why I do so much advocacy for them having their own internal networks and preferably an administrative function or team. Because, you know, when you have that, you suddenly have structure, you have leadership, you have budget, you have goals and KPIs, all set by somebody who understands administration. And I'm not suggesting for a second that you shouldn't be reporting to your executive. But I do think with administrative professionals being a fifth of the world's working population, which means there are 500 million of them worldwide, that there should be somebody who's sitting on the board who is representing what administration can do for the rest of the organisation. And you wouldn't have a situation where you had marketing or finance or procurement and you said to them, we really don't think you need your own department. We really don't think that you need to ever meet up. Just get along and do it in the best way that you think you can possibly. It would be total nonsense. It would be chaos. So why do they think administrative professionals can organise themselves that way? So really, I'm advocating for having some kind of internal function or some kind of network. I think writing internal documentation that is elevating the team's performance. So if you've got a particularly good process, share it with everybody else. I think they're particularly because it's all female, and particularly because there isn't career progression for about 80% of assistants, there is this scarcity mentality that says if I'm good at something, I must hold on to it as opposed to share it with my peers. And really, if we're going to elevate this profession, if we're going to future-proof it, if we're going to attract new people into it, we need to start explaining what we're doing and how amazing we are at doing it. So really, it has got to be, as I say, you know, building peer relationships across the organisation, understanding what we do so beautifully, and shouting about that, because a rising tide raises all ships.
That links very nicely then into the next sort of thing that I think we were going to discuss, which is really in terms of ownership around your career. How best to invest in your personal development, Lucy? What would you say there?
Yes, and I think we have a poll on that, Jonathan.
Do we? I'm glad you've spotted that. In that case, thank you so much. Yes, indeed we do. So well spotted there, Lucy. What is your biggest blocker to professional growth right now, folks? Is it that you don't have the time or the headspace to work a bit more on the front foot around professional development? Is it a lack of support or guidance, or is it that there's no clear sort of next step in the role? There's no career path ultimately, or is it that on our side we're probably a bit unsure as to what the next step should be? If you're all right then, folks, to just cast your votes very quickly on that. And then in a second, hopefully we should then get the results of that feeding through. Eurovision style. Here we go. So any guesses on this, Lucy? What do you think?
Yeah, no clear next step in the role. Massive out there. And I think, you know, there's not enough time or headspace. Let me tackle that one first. I think, as I said, most assistants live in crisis management and firefighting. And you're so busy doing that you don't really have enough time to think about where you're going. But the problem with that is, if you don't have a destination in mind, how are you ever going to put a map in place to get there? So really, I think understanding where you want to be, even in 5 years' time, is important. But for the assistant roles, so many assistants are just seen as one level. And we all know that somebody who is working on reception is doing a very, very different job to somebody who's looking after a CEO. But businesses haven't caught up with that yet. And part of that is because the Bureau of Labour Statistics only has one level 4 assistants, and anybody who is doing anything in the least bit strategic is lumped in with management. In fact, the Bureau of Labour Statistics is still saying that you specialise in sending faxes. So that's how far behind they are. But I digress. What I would say to you is go look at the Global Skills Matrix. The Global Skills Matrix was developed by the heads of associations from about 60 countries across the world. It has won awards. It is a 5-stage career progression for assistants, and it has the skill sets that you need at each level. It also has the tasks that you can expect to do at each level. And it's a great starting point to say to your executive, what level do you think I am on this? It's a totally free resource. You can get it at globalskillsmatrix.com. And if you want to talk to me about it, I'm really, really happy to talk to anybody that wants me to talk to your HR department about it free of charge. It's what I got my OBE for, really, all that work talking to organisations about how to use it. But if you're not sure where to go next, it's great. You can look at it and go, oh, wow, I'm really sat in that level and I'm excellent at it. We all need to know where we're excellent at things or not, and we all need to know exactly what we need to do if we want promotion, and this provides that and so much more. I also have competencies, by the way, if anybody's interested in those, but we haven't published those, so come talk to me if you would like to.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks so much for that, Lucy. So Cool. Well, in that case, I think we're pretty much through the slides. So before we open it up into Q&A, I'm just going to do a little plug for iBabs, software for effective meetings. It's going to save you as somebody supporting meetings, any type of structured meeting, hours compiling agendas and papers for your execs. It'll allow you to instantly pull together a board pack or a meeting pack into a really simple and easy format, and it allows you securely to distribute documents, agendas, minutes, actions, decisions out to your execs. It gives them the ability to access those from their phone, their smartphone, their tablet, even when they're out and about on the road. You can work offline with iBabs if you need to. So if that sounds like something that could be interesting in terms of enhancing the processes within your organization, we'd love to have a chat with you. Just click on the, I think you should have a link or a button to press on the screen right now, which will allow you to register your interest, and we'll follow up with you after the event today. I'll just, at that point as well, just mention, do a little last call to action on Lucy's event this week. Lucy, a quick refresher on what you need to do to get into the ring for that one.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to post anywhere on social media and tag iBabs and tag me on any of your takeaways from today, we will be giving away a couple of tickets to people to Global, which is happening later this week. The lineup is outstanding. But while we are collating what the questions are, maybe from the audience that you have put into the chat box, I did just want to say something to you about understanding your value, because I think for so many assistants, understanding the business is core, but so is understanding your own value. And many of you say they don't value me or they don't empower me. And can I just say to you, when you value yourself and you show up like somebody who values themselves, you will be really surprised at how quickly they also start to value you. And to assistants that say to me, they're not empowering me, who do you think empowers you? It's not me. I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face. It's not Jonathan. It's not your executive. You really need to empower yourself. So I am throwing it back at you a little bit, but I think, you know, there is so much change in this profession right now, and I want you all to be future-proofed. AI might take the tasks, but it's not going to take your career unless you let it. It is co-pilot. It's not autopilot. So go understand the business, go understand your own value, anticipate what's coming around the corner, understand those goals, network internally and externally. There are lots of really amazing networks externally too, if you want to understand what's happening in other companies. And don't just build a skill set, build your personal brand so that people can see exactly how amazing you are. I think we have a question.
We do indeed. Well, firstly, thanks so much for the conversation today, Lucy. I think that's been really insightful for me personally. There's loads of stuff I'll be taking away and posting on social media to hopefully be with a chance of a ticket. But the question we have is from Amber, and she's asking how would be best to start the conversation with HR in my company when there's no recognised career path for assistants. I'm rewriting the profiles using AI, but it doesn't seem to be a priority for the business.
No, it never is, because they don't understand it. You know, I think the thing is, and this is the trick, by the way, if you want to get them to do anything for you, is not to talk about what's in it for the assistants, but to talk about what's in it for the organization and what's in it for your executive. Because when you have a career path for assistants, what we're really talking about is being able to measure performance. And when you can measure, you can improve. Now, most HR people have been given the task of doing this work but have no clue where to start. And the Global Skills Matrix is a framework. It isn't saying this is how you have to do it. What it's saying is it's a starting point. So you might look at it and go, well, actually only 3 of these levels are relevant for us, and our assistants do slightly different things to what is in there. And that's fine, go change it. That's wonderful. But I think understanding that it's about every assistant understanding what excellence looks like. It's about everybody being measured against core competencies and their skills, as opposed to opinion, whereby we're saying, you know, oh, she's a nice girl and she does my calendar nicely. What we're saying is, here are the skills you've really got to make sure that you're developing in order to be seen as excellent within the organisation. That way you can say, we've got these amazing assistants who could do more. Have you got the right assistants looking after the right executives? You want a top executive to be looked after by a top assistant, because then you're freeing up time, and that drops directly to the bottom line. It's the executive salary that's dropping to the bottom line. It's a whole massive question. But Amber, really book an appointment with Jermaine, who is sitting over here and looking rather pale because she knows what my schedule's looking like. But I really would love to talk to you in more detail about how you can do that, so that I've got proposals. I can share proposals with you that you can then tweak for your management, because when they understand the value it brings in terms of money, suddenly they get excited.
I think that's a powerful point, Lucy. It is always about sort of whenever you're trying to sell something, it's what's in it for the other person and for the wider business, isn't it? Really. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for the response on that. Helen is asking how much of this is affected by the fact that executives don't understand what their assistant is capable of.
I would have thought that a lot of executives don't understand how to use their assistant. They're not taught it in business school. In fact, I have good news for you. I'm going to India later on this year to train a bunch of assistants there, which I love doing. It's for a company that's the Indian equivalent of Google. But one of the things they've asked me to do is to record an hour's session for executives on how to use their assistants so that they can put it into their business university. And then every new executive is going to have to watch a video of me, poor things, when they first start at the company, so they understand how to use their assistants. But I have said I will do that bit for them for free, as long as they make it generic and give me a copy of it so that I can share it with all of you. So I'm really hoping that by October we will have that. There is a version of it on YouTube already. If you look me up on YouTube, you can share that, but it isn't the best quality, and I would really like to do it properly if we're going to talk to your executives, so that it's really clear. I think they've never understood. When I go in and I train them, we start off by saying to them, here are post-it notes, write what you think your assistant can do. And it's so dull. I just sit there going, really? You think that what they can do is expenses and minutes and travel and booking meeting rooms? And by the end of the hour, they're going, oh my goodness, if what you're saying is true, I might actually get to see my family occasionally. So it really is just opening their eyes. And when you do open their eyes, you know, when you buy a new car and then all you can see is that version of the car everywhere, suddenly their eyes are opened and they're really using you for all sorts of things they never used you for before. And that's, you know, it is just that eye-opening piece. They're just so busy with their head down and their tail up getting on with work that they don't think about it really until we bring it to their attention.
Brilliant. So Katie has asked around the next steps in the career of an EA, which may not be easy to identify. What field would you suggest is a natural role to progression from the skills and competency of a C-suite EA?
I think what's really exciting, Katie, is that I'm seeing more and more organisations put the career path in place for the assistant, but then putting an alternative career path in place and understanding that some of those skills are transferable, because you know as well as I do that for the longest time what has happened is that if you want to move into another role, they tend to take you right back down to the bottom again, instead of understanding that actually you've got those skill sets already. And for assistants, data analysis, you're doing loads of that, project management. You know, I would say to you, if you're finding you're doing most of your time doing project management or data analysis, go get the qualification, because you'll get paid a whole heap more to do that. I think, you know, on the assistant side, clearly the top level there is being able to do, I don't know, director of administration or head of business support, something like that. Chief of staff role is in the mix there somewhere, but I love Simone White's definition of that, where she says it's a bit like having a nurse and a doctor. They're both in the same job family, but you're going to do a load of work to become a doctor. It isn't a stepping stone from one to the other, a natural progression. Global Skills Matrix explains very clearly what a chief of staff role is, if you want to go and look at that. But I think assistants can do anything. You know, Julie Perrine is who is another amazing trainer, is very fond of saying, start here, go anywhere. And we are specialists at being generalist as assistants. So you're learning skills in all sorts of different directions that could honestly take you in any direction that you want to go.
That's very powerful, isn't it? I think so. So Francois has asked a slightly different question to the career progression thing, which is, do you see a role for assistants to improve the psychological safety in the workplace?
I think that's such an interesting question, because I think clearly an assistant's role is to improve productivity, but I think the other half of their role is very definitely to make sure that their executives are well. The stats around the number of executives that burn out, I think it's 93%, the stats were from 2023, as CEOs felt they experienced on more than one occasion mental health problems because of lack of sleep and overwork and, you know, a myriad of different things, but mainly things that assistants could really help with if they were allowed to. So to me, it's about putting in breaks for them. It's making sure that you understand the rhythm of their work. It's helping them to get out of the office at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening so that they have time with their families, by making sure the allocation of work is such that you're doing the half of the work that you're able to do. And by the way, I know you're sitting there going, I have quite enough work to do already without taking stuff off them, but that's going to be the joy of AI. It's going to shift to help you to do that more often. But I think looking at their well-being, looking at how they're spending their time, making sure that they are not burning out by managing their time properly is huge. So yes, psychological safety in terms of well-being, certainly.
I think from my perspective on that, as somebody who's been a victim of many 100-page meeting report, is, you know, does it have to be a 100-page report that you're throwing in front of your exec, or can it be a 5-page summary, or can it be a 1-page executive summary that they're looking at, rather than something that's going to take them probably an evening of their life to work through? This is
where AI comes in, right? You know, that I quoted all sorts of stats earlier from the LinkedIn and Microsoft Work Trends report for 2024. I took that 200-page document and fed it into AI and said, what's relevant in here for assistants? And it came up with a load of bullet points. Phenomenal. So, you know, it's when I say it's about managing administration as opposed to doing administration, that's what I mean. It's about understanding how to get it done in the fastest, most in-depth, most accurate way using the tools that are available, and positioning yourself as an expert in those things, which you can do very quickly if you get on board and read the information and take the courses now.
Brilliant. I'm very conscious of time, Lucy, and also of the fact that we've still got hundreds of questions that we've not even got to. So I'm really sorry, folks. I don't think we will get to everybody's question today, unfortunately, but we do promise to come back to you with a response on email if we've not had the chance to read it out on air. We will just jump on one last one, which is Alyssa's question, which is, do you have any recommendations on KPIs that EAs should be tracking to present during their review?
Now, funnily enough, I've got a post coming up on that later on this week, and there are loads of them. So take a look on LinkedIn, Alyssa, and everybody else on the call, and you will see that list there, because it's far easier to just go look at the list. You're always asking me KPIs and OKRs and things, and I'm delighted with that. And also, if you do have questions after this, or we didn't manage to get to your question, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Please feel free to whiz over the questions, and I'm really happy to come back to any of you that want me to expand on any of it.
Perfect. Lucy, honestly, it's always an absolute pleasure, and that hour always flies by whenever we have these conversations. I really don't know where the time goes. So thank you so much for making the time today. It's been a really interesting and insightful discussion from my side. Obviously, always a great privilege and pleasure to spend the time with you. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise and awareness around what you do. It's greatly appreciated.
I always love being on these webinars. You know, we get a great audience, we get great feedback afterwards, and I just want to reinforce the shift, really. So you need to be challenging old thinking. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing things differently. And this is no longer about how to be the best assistant in the room, it's about how to lead the business from behind the scenes. So the future of this profession isn't going to be based on task execution, it's going to be built on influence and strategy and adaptability. And you already have what it takes, you know, now just go do the thing. I know that you can. I talk to you every day. You're far better than you think you are.
Amen to that, Lucy. Brilliant. So with that, folks, I think that's going to be a wrap. Do go and share posts on LinkedIn, get your entry in for those tickets. Come and see us over at iBabs if you're interested in that side of it. And thanks so much for making the time, folks, for what has been a wonderful session today. Really appreciate it. See you soon, hopefully.
Thank you so much.